The more people finish watching Volume 2, the more questions arise. So in today's video, I want to address the most popular question I saw online and hopefully shine some light on it, while also helping you understand this second volume a little better. I was kind of sad to see so many people disappointed with this season. I know this volume is weaker than the previous one, but I don't believe it deserves the hate it's getting. We learned what the Upside Down is. We learned about Vecna's final plan. Max woke up, and Dustin finally came to terms with his feelings. I admit the pacing and the dialogue felt off at times, but overall it did a great job building momentum for the final episode. I think the loudest voices in the fandom calling Volume 2 a disaster are mostly from people whose theories didn't come true, and suddenly that's labeled as bad writing. But let's get back to the video. One of the most confusing scenes was the moment when Nancy and Jonathan finally talked about their feelings. This scene is actually a breakup scene, despite what many people believe. They didn't confess all those things to make the relationship work. Quite the opposite. They confessed those things to realize that it wasn't working, and that the only thing keeping them together was their shared trauma. They admitted how they had been faking important parts of their relationship. For example, we all know how important the clash is in Jonathan's life, and Nancy hating the band is a clear indication that this would only grow into resentment in the future if things continued like this. Nancy admitted she could have gone to California to see Jonathan, but simply didn't want to. Jonathan admitted he didn't even apply to the same college as Nancy. All of these were signs that the relationship was doomed, but neither of them had the courage to end it. I really liked how mature this conversation was. Both of them realizing they still love each other, but also understanding that they've outgrown their past selves, and that the shared trauma keeping them together is now suffocating. Jonathan even said it himself. He wanted to propose because he thought it would solve the problem, even though deep down he knew it wouldn't, and he even hoped it wouldn't. That's what the whole scene with the ring falling while they hug in the background represents. They break up in a mature way. They love each other, but they know it won't work. The ring falling is a visual representation of their relationship. It also parallels the fact that the relationship is suffocating them, just like they are about to die in that room, suffocated by the liquid. But after they finally say everything that's been on their minds, the liquid stops. It solidifies, meaning they save themselves. They aren't drowning anymore, that's what the scene represents. But I understand the confusion, especially when Nancy jumps into Jonathan's arms after they realize they're safe. This doesn't feel like a hug between two people who just broke up. It feels more like a hug between two people ready to start fresh and give it another chance. The scene where they bump their heads together could also suggest that. It feels more like they're finally being completely honest with each other, making amends and starting over rather than ending things. Jonathan admits that proposing was the wrong way to try to fix things, but they both get everything off their chests, laugh it off, tell each other, "I love you," and embrace. Plus, they thought they were about to die, making a clear breakup point right before that wouldn't really make sense. That's why this scene confused so many people. You can make strong arguments for both interpretations, but the official version is that they broke up. The Duffer brothers themselves confirmed this to end the confusion. Another controversial scene is Will's confession, and Mike's realization that he is the crush Will is referring to. If you look at Mike's face, he starts connecting the dots. And not just Mike. I believe Dustin realizes it too. Even though he's blurred in the background, the moment Will says he had a crush on someone he knew wasn't like him, Dustin's expression immediately changes and he looks at Mike. He's no longer paying attention to Will, he's connecting the dots as well. Mike's expression here is a mix of emotions. He realizes that he is the crush, but he also realizes that he messed up badly. I don't remember the exact season, maybe season 3, but there's a moment when Mike tells Will, "It's not my fault you don't like girls." That wording is important because it mirrors how Will confesses here. He doesn't say he's gay, he says, "I don't like girls." I believe that in this moment, Mike also realizes that his best friend was going through something incredibly difficult. And instead of helping him, he may have made it even worse. I really hope Mike and Will eventually have a proper conversation about this, and that Will's confession won't be left hanging like that. Another thing I really liked is how Jonathan always knew and gave Will that subtle head nod, acknowledging his feelings and showing him that it's okay to share them. Robin also nods her head in support. Seeing that his feelings are understood is what gives Will the courage to come clean, at least emotionally, to everyone else. And despite his fear of being rejected, he realizes that he has good friends around him who will stand by him no matter what. Another big question people have about this volume is what Kali meant when she said it would have been better if she hadn't escaped the lab, right as the camera cuts to the pregnant women being injected with her blood. To understand this, you first need to understand Kali's character. Her motivation has always been driven purely by revenge. When we're first introduced to her, she's killing someone who took part in the program that turned her into a monster. She made it her life's mission to hunt down everyone involved. But now she realizes that the program has restarted. And not only that, they're using her blood to create more monsters. Imagine living your entire life in horror, finally escaping hell, dedicating yourself to destroying the people who put you through that misery, only to discover that your own blood is being used to recreate the same hell for others. That's why Kali wishes she had died, and that's also why she believes 11 should sacrifice herself as well. It's still unclear why Kali is the only one with powers that are different from the others, but I believe this is exactly why her blood isn't viable, and why Dr. K needs 11's blood to restart the project. 11 has the same powers as Henry, and Kali likely believes that only blood like Henry's, or 11's, can truly work. When Dr. K says that only 11 can help her, it's because she believes 11 is the only surviving test subject. She doesn't know that Vecna is Henry. That revelation could play a major role in the final episode, but until then, Dr. K believes 11 is the only possible source to create more test subjects. I also believe Dr. K was involved in the original MK Ultra project alongside Dr. Brenner. MK could stand for Martin and K, which would explain why she is so obsessed with finding 11. If you're unfamiliar, MK Ultra was a real secret government program where test subjects were given psychedelic drugs in an attempt to develop mind control techniques during the Cold War. After Dr. Brenner got his hands on Henry, the program shifted from drugs to blood transfusions using Henry's blood. Terry Ives was one of those test subjects, which is why 11 was born with powers. A lot of people don't realize this, but Terry also had powers. She showed telekinesis, being able to change TV channels with her mind. She demonstrated electrokinesis by manipulating the lights in her house to guide 11 toward her. And she also had telepathic abilities which allowed her to interact with 11 in the void and show her an image of Kali. And Terry wasn't the only one. Her friend from the project, Alice Johnson, also developed powers, specifically the ability to see into the future. I actually have a video where I explain all of this in much more depth, which I'll link in the description. But it seems that prolonged exposure to Henry's blood can lead to the development of supernatural abilities. And this ties perfectly into the last two questions I want to address about Volume 2. What was inside the briefcase from Henry's memory? And what exactly was that abyss where Holly woke up? I feel like I'm explaining the same things over and over again. And for the people who regularly watch my channel, I'm sorry about that. But apparently, there are still a lot of people who don't know about these things, and honestly, I don't blame them. I also don't blame the Duffer Brothers the way most people do, because we're supposed to get all the answers in the next episode. That's how storytelling works. You get the answers at the end of the journey. That's what makes it thrilling. The feeling of exploring the unknown. I've seen a lot of people complaining that the stage play ruined Stranger Things, but if I'm being honest, the people who knew about the play kind of ruined their own experience. They didn't get to discover this new part of the story the same way their favorite protagonists do. The Duffer Brothers have said this multiple times. You don't need to see the play to understand Stranger Things. All your answers will be answered in the show. The play is just additional lore, and yes, it can be considered spoilers. It's up to you whether you want to watch a show already knowing where the story is headed, or experience the final season without any clues at all. The Duffer Brothers also confirmed in an interview that we will see that briefcase again, that all of these questions will be answered in the final episode, and that so far we've only seen half of the core memory. Now, before going any further, I want to give a spoiler warning, because that's exactly what the play is, a spoiler. And like I said, I genuinely feel bad for the people who already knew what happened in the play, myself included, because we didn't get to enjoy the show to its fullest. So for everyone angry at Netflix for not releasing the play online, I honestly think this was one of the best decisions they made. I'm confident that once the final episode is released, Netflix will add the play afterward. What really baffles me is that everyone trashes the play because it contains information about the final episode. Yet nobody talks about the official novel, Stranger Things: Suspicious Minds. Apparently that one doesn't matter, and I see at least one comment every single day asking who Eleven's father is, and that book literally answers it. Eleven's father is Andrew Rich. He was Terry Ives' college boyfriend, and he died in the Vietnam War. The novel also explores Kaylee's time in the lab and reveals an important plotline surrounding her character. But nobody bats an eye, even though it contains a massive amount of information. The story begins in the summer of 1969, almost 20 years before the events of the show, and it already mentions Demogorgons and 11. If you want more Stranger Things lore, I definitely recommend reading this novel as well. But getting back to the video, the place where Holly woke up is Dimension X. Dimension X is what Dustin refers to as the Abyss, and it's the world Henry wanted to merge with the right side up. The Abyss is where the Demogorgons, the Vines, and the Mind Flayer originally come from. We first saw this place in Season 4. It's where Henry was sent after 11 defeated him. We assumed that was the Upside Down, but it wasn't. The place Henry described as a place untouched by mankind wasn't the Upside Down. It was the Abyss. There's also another place we see when Henry is being electrocuted, and that location is a different dimension entirely. It's called the Hellscape, and it exists between all dimensions. I made a video explaining this in more depth, which I'll link in the description. But this wasn't Henry's first time in the Abyss. He actually went there before, when he was still a child. And the event that transported him there is revealed through that briefcase. In the original play, the briefcase contains a device that mysteriously activates and transports young Henry to Dimension X for 12 hours. When he returns, his blood is altered, his personality changes, and he gains telekinetic powers. During the time he spent there, Henry was flayed by the Mind Flayer. From that point on, he became a puppet, doing exactly what the Mind Flayer wanted, with the ultimate goal of merging the two worlds. If we slow down the scene in the show, right after Henry opens the briefcase, we can see smoke coming out and a red glow that looks very similar to what we saw when the Upside Down cracked open, and Dimension X began bleeding into the right side up. I don't know exactly how this will play out in the show, but the likely outcome of Henry opening that briefcase is that he's transported to the Abyss and flayed by the Mind Flayer. That's why Henry is so traumatized by that cave. It's the place where his soul essentially died and where he became a puppet. For a deeper explanation, please check out my other video linked in the description, because I'd honestly need another 10 minutes to properly explain everything here. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments, and if I see a lot of people asking the same one, I'll try to make another video addressing it as well. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it helped you understand Volume 2 a little better. Thank you for watching.